Hello and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris.
And I'm Ibrahim, Sani.
Welcome to a special edition of Consider This. In the next half an hour, 1 hour, we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Now, what a difference a week has made, hasn't it,
Plenty,
Ibrahim?
actually.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Liverpool lost for the first time.
I'm sure that is number one.
We have a few Liverpool supporters right here.
Number one importance on your news of the day list. However, today, 1st of March, the rest of us Malaysians, Ibrahim, we saw our 8th Prime Minister sworn in. Bersatu President Sri Muhyiddin Yassin sworn in as 8th Prime Minister of Malaysia. He will clock in for his first day on the job at the Prime Minister's office tomorrow at 8 a.m. Meanwhile, Pakatan Harapan has said that it will table a motion of no confidence against Muhyiddin Yassin at the next sitting of Parliament. But when will that be? Because the next session is slated for March 9th. However, will it be postponed? And that's just one of the many questions we want to consider and then reconsider from all different perspectives. Tonight, to help us do it, we have Datuk Dr. Rais Hussin Muhammad Arif, President and CEO of Emma Research, as well as Datuk Sri Jahaberdeen Muhammad Yunus, lawyer with Jahaberdeen & Co. and through his work is also quite familiar with the political sphere in Malaysia. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show. Good to have you here. All right, so before we discuss the future of Malaysia under a Muhyiddin Yassin administration, I'd like to take a look at one of the events that happened this morning. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad's press conference, in which he made several noteworthy statements. Now, I'd like to get both your thoughts on this. Let's play a clip from Tun Dr. Mahathir's press conference this morning.
But I feel betrayed, mostly by Muhyiddin. He was working on this for a long time, and now he has succeeded.
All right, that was a comment from Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad saying that, he feels betrayed mostly by Muhyiddin, working on this for a long time, and now he has succeeded. I'd like to get your thoughts. Can I begin with you, Rais? What did you make of that comment?
Well, there are many opinions flying all over the place. Tensions are running high. Dissatisfaction are also there. There are many perspectives to the same events. Henceforth, it's very difficult to actually conclude that there is such situation. But everybody is entitled to opinion. We all know there was a Friday decision at the Pakatan Harapan Presidential Council. That was 2 Fridays ago. And that was sufficient to satisfy what could have been to maintain the Pakatan Harapan government. And then it can be worked from there. Subsequently, there was an urgent meeting on Sunday at the PPBM Supreme Council, which I was not able to attend because of, as you know, I'm recovering from quadruple bypass. And that certain decisions was made. And then on Monday, many things happened. And that's why I say, and there are many various perspectives of the same event. There is one event saying 26 plus 10 supports Sri Muhyiddin Yassin as the PM. Then you have another perspective saying there's a letter that came out from the office of the Secretary General. Then there is also some others who are saying, no, we did not endorse. So there's so many perspectives.
Correct.
So to easily to give an opinion is a little bit problematic, at least for now.
Okay.
I think after this, when things gets cooled down a little, more rationality comes into play. Either way, whichever side you are, my hope is that the focus should not be taken away from administrating the country.
Completely agree with you. I just wonder whether this statement was quite surprising to me, because it was very a kind of frank statement to say, and in a way painting, almost vilifying the current Prime Minister, right? So painting the current Prime Minister in a negative light, dividing an already divided nation. I'm wondering the impact of this statement. Would you care to weigh in?
Okay, now, I look at the word used, betrayal. Now, obviously, betrayal is an expression of Tun Mahathir's feeling. I'm afraid I have to say this. I have to say that I'm not privy to what happened between him and Sri Muhyiddin, and therefore I would not like to speculate. But as a rakyat and as a lawyer, I look at this way. I'm very comforted by the fact that, as reported in the papers, I'm comforted by the fact that the young Di-Pertuan Agong dutifully did his job via the Constitution, and he came to the conclusion that Sri Muhyiddin Yassin is the Prime Minister. Therefore, from that perspective, to me, at this juncture, I'm not very concerned with the issue of betrayal or otherwise, because I'm not privy to it. As a rakyat, I'm comforted by what Yang Di-Pertuan Agong has done.
Okay, you don't think it's going to play on people's minds, this comment?
I don't think it will play on the general rakyat's mind. But of course, it would be made to play on those who want to keep on playing the political game.
But if I may add a little, I think to say that the people will not play this in their mind may not be necessarily true. Why? You see, there are people who are very happy and jubilant with what has happened today with Perikatan Nasional. Equally, there are also people who are not happy with that. So we have to address those issues as well. If you remember, at the MA Research poll recently, last quarter, the divide was 41%, 38%. 41% to Pakatan Harapan and 38% at then, what we call Muafakat Nasional. With the plus minus 3% margin of error, is neck to neck. So what I'm trying to say is that there are people who are not happy, right, with what has happened.
41% according to numbers.
Because, why? Because in G14 there was a certain mandate given to the government, right? So people want that to be realized. So there will be people who are not happy, right? So now what to do? My focus, again, I would hope that the new government, the Perikatan Nasional that is being called. By the way, the word Perikatan Nasional was coined none other than Tun Dr. Mahathir.
He coined it?
Yes, absolutely. It is his word.
When did he coin it?
You have to. He coined that word, Perikatan Nasional. So, under what he defines a unity government, where partyless, individual-based kind of government. But anyway, coming back to this, the first thing that the government should accept, the new government, is that there are people happy, there are people not happy. And they are almost equal in that sense, right? From the studies that we have seen.
Equal in the sense of number of people supporting and against.
So what to do? So to me, what the focus must be, the first thing is that, how do you manage the anger management, so to speak. I'm not talking about the movie, but now I'm talking about how the new government will manage the anger. I mean, if anyone don't want to talk about it, put it under the carpet and, life goes on, I think that's not going to be it. And to manage the anger, there are many narratives being told now in public. Oh, this is what's going to happen, the kleptocrats are back, and this is what the case is going to be dropped. The kleptocrats will be in the cabinet. Let's talk openly. We need to be frank. I think it is time for Malaysia to talk about this candidly and frankly. And to my mind, the first thing that the government should be focusing on is what I always call the tummy economy, the perut economy. Right? Don't look at my stomach for that. Huh? The tummy economy means mitigating cost of living, improving quality of life, creating credible jobs. I'm not talking about gig economy. I'm talking about credible jobs. Affordable homes, affordable healthcare. These 5 things becomes very important. Second, the composition of the, for now. We're managing anger now, no? The happy people, they're happy. That's all right, You can just have to do what you need to do better. But the anger, how do you manage? When you get your cabinet done, somebody was telling me today, hey, that's a prerogative of a Prime Minister. Fine, it's a prerogative of the Prime Minister, but let us not keep on talking about prerogative of Prime Minister and create a dictator. We do not want that anymore. What we want is a cabinet. We have two models that we can look at it. The third model is what Malaysia has. The first model is the Indonesian model. In the Indonesian model, you have about 50%, 52% technocrats, and the rest composed of ruling government who won and also the opposition. Of course, it's a presidential system, things a little bit different, blah, blah, blah. We will have our own acuan, we have our own mix, and how to do that. So, bring in technocrats into the cabinet, number one. Number two, please do not bring in people who have tainted history. Please. Number three, who have cases in the court, the ongoing cases in the court. Please do not bring them in. These are the people that should be left. So when you do this kind of things, you focus on what people want, not what the politician want. That is the tummy economy. Then you...
I'm surprised you were pointing at me when you said competition.
I'm sure he didn't mean it like that.
I'm sure. And then the other part is make sure that the perception, you are now building a new perception. We all talk about new Malaysia, new politics, this and that. Let us for once, I appeal to the politician, set aside all these things, focus on the new politics. You want to talk about new politics? Datuk Sri Dr. Zul, excellent health minister. You cannot get a better health minister than him.
Former health minister.
Bring him. If this is what we call out-of-the-box solution. But if you want to go back to the same old politics, political accommodation, bring in tainted guys, ongoing cases in the court, then I think we are going to have a bigger problem. And the third one that is very, very important is that make sure, you are the lawyer, make sure the independence of judiciary is maintained.
Okay.
The executives must not interfere in any cases.
I want to touch on all those things. You made 3 excellent points, and I want to come back and get the perspective of Datuk Sri Jahaberdeen. But we're going to take a quick break and come back and continue this conversation right here. Consider this. Don't go anywhere. welcome back to Consider This with me, Melisa, Idris and Ibrahim Sani. Tonight, we're speaking to Datuk Dr. Rais Hussin from MA Research, as well as Datuk Sri Jahaberdeen Muhammad Yunus, lawyer with Jahaberdeen and Co. Just before the break, Rais, you gave a long list of things, lots to unpack there, and I'd like to get the comments of Datuk Sri Jabber. How would you respond to this, anger management that the Perikatan Nasional need to manage, essentially, to dissipate?
Okay. Now, firstly, since the end of 1980s, sorry, since 1980s, I've been saying that, there have been a lot of anger in politics, and increasingly up to now, more and more rakyat are angry with the politicians. So now we come to this situation, how to manage anger at this juncture. Now the question is, what anger? The anger which I see is that people are saying that there's a backdoor government, for instance. That's what they're saying. The question is there a backdoor government? Etc. We can go on analysing it until the cows come home. But the most important thing would be, if the current set of government can address the fundamental issues which Dr. Rais already addressed, I think that takes care of everything. Because I believe that the normal rakyat on the street, they're more concerned with fundamental bread and butter issues. That is the most important thing. The rest are all games which are played by the political elites and their friends and cronies.
In the MA research, there was some hierarchy of importance amongst rakyat, what they feel,
what they're most concerned about, right?
Number one is whatever the food issue, stomach economy. Number two is, I don't know, judiciary, you name it, right? When we talk about the 41% just now that Dr. Rais alluded to, I don't know what the polls say, but I would assume that integrity of government, the ability for you to set up reforms agenda and many others would rank highly, if not top three. It could be the very highest thing. Is this reflected in your research?
I think in terms of the top five or so, it is more the tummy economy, and then come close is
so in that case it's the same as
correct. And then come close to it is all these issues of integrity, corruption, this and that. And as you remember, we came up with a National Worry Index, and which we map against certain. It's a very scientifically arrived at index, and we try to Google search whether there was a similar National Worry Index anywhere, and we found that the National Satisfaction Index ada, but National Worry Index no. And we had 7 professors who were working on this. And when we found out what is the score, it was 0.77. This was the last quarter, last year. 0.77. What does that mean? Maximum worry. Already in the last quarter, the people in Malaysia, their worry level is maximum. This is bad. Based on what? So these are the things that I always talk about.
When are you going to release the National Worry Index for first quarter 2020?
Okay, great. We have just completed. The analysis is being done. We expect it to be out on April 15 because we always conclude after the first quarter of each quarter, then the 15 days.
So it would cover this period as well, right?
Correct. And the analysis have just started because we've completed the data gathering and so on. I can say that from the early, what was earlier summary, whatever was, is even worse than before. And I'm not surprised. Why? Look at our economic situation. Right? We have 4 main issues now that is playing globally. Not many people are focusing on this. These are real issues, which has direct correlation to our economy. Number 1, America. They are going into recession in either second quarter this year or definitely third quarter. That's bad for us because they are one of the largest trading partners that we have. We have China. China, we have 2 issues. Mostly people talk about coronavirus, which is a fact. The second issue that is quite recessive, quite hidden, is the $2 trillion domestic debt bubble in China. If that bursts, it will be a horrifying impact in the global economy. Then you have post-Brexit EU issues. Then you have India with the demonetization and the current ethno-religious And that's badly affecting the economy of India. Guess what? All these 4 territories are in our top 10 trading nation. This is going to end again in Malaysia.
Top 5, actually.
Top 5. And they are there. How? It's going to impact us. Have we built the domestic resiliency of the economy? Did we? I don't think so. That is going to be a big problem. Because of the political instability and impasse, Monday, we lost 43 billion ringgit in this very building, stock exchange.
Well, the stock market's going to open tomorrow morning.
And let me tell you, Tuesday, we regained 20 billion. Then onwards, we've been losing and we are level at 2008 levels. Tomorrow, if this impasse continues, and I think there will be some still voices of dissent, this and that, which is pretty all right, but this is going to continue affecting our economy. And guess what? When you talk about stock exchange, it's just one of the things. But guess what? It is not just the stock market. The companies are affected. Employment is going to be affected. There'll be right-sizing done.
Right.
People are going to lose jobs.
I want to focus a little bit on, you literally just touched upon the point that I want to talk about, which is corporate earnings. Plenty. It was rather hilarious because I do look at corporate earnings all the time, and while the drama was unfolding last week, all the corporates were also issuing their own corporate earnings, and it wasn't a pretty picture.
But it got buried under the noise?
Yeah, it got buried under the noise. See, so lucky for the corporate executives on all these corporates. But generally speaking, corporate Malaysia was earning lesser than they did in 2018. With broad strokes, there were some differences in between. Now, with that against the backdrop and with this, national worry index that you speak of and all these things that are brought into the picture, now I'm not concerned about the dissent. I'm going to be focused on the appointment on the governance level. Who is going to be the next Deputy Prime Minister? Who's going to be the next
Finance Minister?
Will there still be a Minister of Economic Affairs? Will there be a Minister of, say, Sarawak Affairs or Sabah Affairs that will look into the MA63? All these appointments, right? It's going to be extremely crucial. I can't even understate this or overstate this even more. It's going to be critical. What do you think is going to happen in the next few days when Sri Muhyiddin Yassin is going to sit down with his partners and look at, with the matter of the fact and say, you know what, guys, I know we did this whole horse trading affair for the past week, but really we've got to hire technocrats, we've got to hire people that have been in the business for long, where we can't hire politicians for these kind of jobs. What do you think, Datuk Jaber?
Well, obviously, the Rakyat will be looking at the structure of the cabinet, obviously. And obviously also the Rakyat is going to evaluate whether or not the cabinet is going to be reflective of the concern of the politicians and the Prime Minister for the current problems faced by the country as outlined by Dr. Rais just now. Or is it just going to be another political government? So that's what they're going to look at. So if the next 2 years or the remaining years until PRU 2015 is going to be good for the country in terms of economics and political stability, I think what's going to happen the next 1 week, the cabinet formation is going to be very critical, very important. I think that would be the short answer to it. Yes.
Okay. Any guesses to the Deputy Prime Minister, Shep?
Are you in the running?
No, please. I'm not a politician. My appeal to not only to Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, who is the Prime Minister now, my appeal is also to all the coalition partners that keeps on talking about demi agama, bangsa dan negara. And I really hope they meant demi agama, bangsa dan negara, not demi aku, aku dan aku. If they really mean it, genuinely, sincerely, then they should stop this political accommodation of cabinet appointment. They should get the best among the best, even among the political parties and the MPs. Now, there are good people, good mix of people, even among the MPs. Professional, well-educated, have good, no fake degrees, have good, academic background, have done on their own, get them. Then get some technocrats in. Because hard times, difficult times, you need to think out of the box to get it done. Give that latitude to the Prime Minister. Do not put him in a corner and say, look, you are Prime Minister today because of me.
Right.
And therefore, you need to give me this.
But hasn't that always been the nature of Malaysian politics?
We have to change that, Melisa.
The coalition, you have to give, you have to reward winning the elections, or horse trading. You have to reward with ministerial positions or the like. Isn't that just the nature of Malaysian politics? Can we expect it to change?
Melisa, this is extraordinary time. We need to do extraordinary things. If it is going to be same old, you have angry people. And then you do same old. Tomorrow, you appoint someone who is facing a corruption case in the court, for instance, as a Minister of Defense, for instance. I'm not saying that is going to happen. For instance, what would people say? We need to be very, very careful here. So my view is that, please, all politicians, give the latitude, work towards reviving the economy, reinventing the economy. Fourth Industrial Revolution has come.
Understood completely. If I could interrupt you with a comment from perhaps Datuk Sri Jaber, you founded the movement Rakyat Penyelamat Negara, right? So Rapera. Can you comment on the backlash? Let's just say if the cabinet formation is not one that can please everyone, no one will be absolutely happy with every pick of minister. In terms of the optics, in terms of the backlash, how would the new Pakatan Perikatan National Administration... Sorry, it's only been a week. How would this new administration deal with perhaps the backlash of the unhappy folks?
Okay. Now, first of all, of course, it is impossible to please everyone.
Sure.
Okay, I think what the new Prime Minister should be looking at is to come up with a reliable cabinet. And I use the word reliable very generously. What's reliable? Reliable is one that can somehow satisfy certain important political requirements.
Right.
I mean, I have an idealistic yardstick, but I understand that to implement it, you require some political thing. But that political satisfaction should not override what I call the experts, those who are capable. Now, as Dr. Rais pointed out, they are within the bigger caucus of members of parliament, qualified people. Now you can pick from there, and where you can't, you must be creative enough, generous for the rakyat to pick people from outside and make them senators, for instance. So what I'm saying is, while the rakyat does not expect any government, political government, to leave politics aside completely, the rakyat will be totally disgusted, for instance, if the new government was to allocate important ministries to politicians just to reward politically. And that would be just too much.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and come back to consider this. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. welcome back to Consider This with me, Melisa, Idris and Ibrahim Sani tonight. Datuk Dr. Rais Hussin from Emma Research is on the show, joined by Datuk Sri Jahaberdeen Muhammad Yunus, a lawyer with Jahaberdeen and Co. And I want to come back to the conversation we had just before the break about the perut economy, or the stomach economy, and the kind of the things that need to be addressed with this new soon-to-be formed cabinet. What do you think are some of the things, the quick wins that Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's administration can do to win over the dissatisfied?
Okay. Now, firstly, what was already mentioned extensively by Dr. Rais regarding the perut economy or the stomach economy, that's very important. That's the first thing that the new government has got to address, the employment, etc. That's the first one. To me, second one, which is equally important, is the general dignity of the rakyat. Now, if we are frank about it, I'm sure some of the apprehensions that the rakyat will be having now is when they look at this new government called Perikatan Nasional, is that it's going to be a Bumi Putra government, it's going to be an Islamic government, it's going to be a Malay government. So that's a real worry, fear, not only among the non-Malays, but also among the Malays. Liberal,
urban Malays?
Yes. So what's liberal in the sense of not so much just liberal in the sense of social liberal, but you're right, Melisa, some of the Malays who have certain ideas of Islam, for instance, will now be worried that they will be described as liberals, etc. So that's a very important factor for the new government to address. And I call it general dignity. In the sense that non-Malays must be comforted by the fact that, look, don't worry, we may be all Malay and mostly Muslims, but hey, we've been in Malaysia for many years and we've also had the opportunity to mix with other perikatan before. For example, Bersatu has worked, PAS has worked, UMNO has worked with other race-based parties before, so they have all this experience. That's number one. Number two is, more importantly, is also, I believe, that many urban Malays especially would be worried that, oh my God, is this new government going to be an ultra, inverted commas, Islamist kind of government? They may not like it as well. So these are all the kind of worries that they have. So these are two issues, quite apart from the economic issues, that the present government should address so that the rakyat are stable. And if we have, you know, general happiness or lower worrying index, then you find that we can progress towards a better better life. Because to me, I find that the role of politicians generally is, I want to remind the politicians, your role is facilitator. Your role is to facilitate.
You agree?
If I may add, absolutely. If a politician try to be God, that is the problem. So, and some people circumambulating this politician in position also treat them like a god. They become demigod. Then akulah,
Very well put.
So this is the problem. We cannot have these problems anymore. Enough.
Okay.
You know, but there's two things that I needed to add on. Sure. The dignity part is absolutely correct. The political optics must be right. In any anger management, the political optics must be right. What is the political optics? The composition of cabinet member. If you bring in tainted guys to be the minister, or the guys who have high-profile cases, like Najib's case or Zahid Amidi's case, these guys into the cabinet, man, the backlash from the people will be humongous. I'm being very frank, because what I'm trying to say is that the politician, for once in their lifetime, please, boss, leave your politics at home. When you go to your office, you are being paid by the people. We are paying. You do what we want, not what you want. If you can do that, I think eventually people will come back and trust the money. Meanwhile, try not to, I mean, some people when they win, holy cow, excuse my language, they will become, I'm the be-all and all. No need. Go pull up your socks, pull up your whatever, go and get jobs done. And I have been consistent in this, not even now, dapat dulu lagi. I've been trying to tell this. You know, you have a big amanah as a leader. My professor, my favorite professor, Professor Muhammad Kamal Hassan, former rector of International Islamic University.
This one you can point to me. Yeah,
from So you know what he told me? When you want to become a leader, Rais, you are putting one leg in the hell already. I said, why? Because do you know the great amount of responsibility that you want to be a leader? It's a free ticket to hell. So my question to the leaders now, do you want a free ticket to hell? Number one. Number two, there is an authentic hadith, Sahih Bukhari, Muslim, which says, any Muslim leader who dies lying to the people that he led, maka haramlah syurga ke atasnya. The paradise will be forbidden. This is Sahih Bukhari Muslim, not Rais Hussin, Bukhari Muslim. Don't try to, oh, you just won, you became a government, you become this, you're going to be a minister. No. Right. It's a great amount of responsibility. And half of the people are angry, upset, dissatisfied. Huh?
Does this open an opportunity for these leaders that you speak of to now take a step back? They've done all they could. And we've seen them done all they could. I mean, make no mistake, they did not have enough sleep for the past week or so. They were trying to do a lot in trying to gain power. Some of them have gotten it, some of them did not get it. Is this an opportunity for all these leaders to take a step back and say, you know what, done. Let's get a new breed of people up front and make them work instead of us now.
Yeah, I think, if I may, I think what Dr. Rais and I am trying to say is, we are saying politicians get beyond power. We're saying that. They could have been working very hard for the past 1 week or so, but that was all working hard to get power. We are saying go beyond power. Leave your politics at home. That's a very good caption. Leave your politics at home. That means the moment you go into the ministry, you are now working for the rakyat. What you have is no longer partisan interest. What you have is the national interest. That's basically what you're saying.
I agree. I mean, this is the thing that we need to do. What do you mean by new Malaysia, new politics? If everything is old.
No, I see what you're saying. I'm just wondering, okay, you made some really excellent points there, Rais, and that's great advice to the new government. You are part of Bersatu. You are strategic director for Bersatu. What lessons did Bersatu learn from all this? What lessons did the Pakatan Harapan government learn from the 22 months it stayed in Putrajaya?
I think I'm one of the person who's very sad. I actually cried when the PH4. I actually cried. And I was talking to my wife many times about this. Why? The intentions were so pure, so sincere. We laboriously work on the manifesto for 8 months. We know we can deliver 60% of it, non-financial, 40% is financial. Given time, it can be done. Why did we go wrong?
Probably politics took over.
What we do wrong? The problem is, it's not that manifesto was not delivered. Tun Mahathir, in the first anniversary speech, the first thing he started was on manifesto. Right. He was talking about 60%, whatever, right? You remember? Before that, post-GE14 election, after we won, he said, manifesto is not a Bible. So, I never let go the manifesto. For me, that is a perjuangan belum selesai. Because there are many good things in the manifesto. For the people, I'm talking about addressing the tummy economy. I'm also talking about the reforms. The reform must be done for this country. Until when we should have the same old policy that is recycle after recycle after recycle and nothing happens. We do not want that. What we want is this reform idea. I strongly appeal to the politicians because politicians normally don't read. Right? They don't read. That's the problem. And then they were, without naming the person, I shared a forum with another person.
Who is this person that you're not naming?
The politician. And you know what she said? She said that in the manifesto, a manifesto is stupid, first, she said. Secondly, she said, in the manifesto, this is what should be contained, about 7, 8 things. Then I said, excuse me, what you just said is contained in the manifesto. You're plagiarizing from the manifesto. No, I've not read the manifesto. Wow, you commented on the manifesto without reading. Excellent.
It was a very long manifesto. It was a thick book.
Correct. You know why? It was a laborious work of love for the country. Not by 1-2%. So many people, engagement with various stakeholders.
But I read the whole manifesto. I thought it was good.
Okay.
Sorry, with Perikatan Nasional not having a manifesto and now forming a government, What does that mean? Because every single time a government is formed, or well, that's the idea. Every single time a government is formed, you need to have a manifesto. You go to the polls and you say to the people, all right, this is what I'm going to do. Vote for me.
Well, I have to say though that during GE14, I mean, Pakatan Harapan was really pressed on its manifesto after the first 1 year of Malaysia Baru. They were pressed on the performance of the manifesto, and I've been wondering, in all my years of covering general elections, how many times have we pressed the Barisan Nasional government for their manifesto and for the performance of their manifesto? I have to say, I see the comparison, and I now want to press Perikatan Nasional for their manifesto and would like to hold them into account for that.
That's a very good question on the manifesto. Now,
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Now, if you look at manifesto issue,
after all, yeah.
Right, you look at the manifesto issue, all the while we had a manifesto because it was election. Now, this time the new government is formed not due to an election, but because of the evolution of politics. Now, I would say that this new government is in a perfect position to borrow from anybody else's manifesto. Perfect position.
Okay.
You know, you can borrow from Pakatan Harapan's manifesto, no issues. Take the good ones. Borrow from UMNO's manifesto. Borrow from PASA's manifesto. All these things, which happened at the election at PRU 14. What is there to stop the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister, Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, and his cabinet from taking all these, whatever manifestos? So the question that Melisa asking is, how do you know what you plan to deliver?
Right.
Back to what we started. The structure of the cabinet is extremely important, number one. Number two is exactly what Dr. Rais said. Who are you going to put in the cabinet, number two? These two will give an indication to the rakyat where this new government is going. Where is going. Thirdly would be then the policies.
Okay. Because we all kind of agree that the appointment of cabinet and the structure and all that is extremely crucial. Now let's look at the operational aspect of it. Do you think it's wise for the new Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin to now postpone the sitting of the Dewan Rakyat? Not because of anything, because the sitting of the Dewan Rakyat is happening in 8 days. If 9th of March, yeah. In 8 days, nothing changes. It's going to happen in 8 days. But does he have enough time to think about or think things through in order to set up this dream team of his? Or is it wise for us to push it down?
Well, speaking for myself, when I'm speaking as a rakyat, to me, I'm tired of so far the political maneuvering left, right, and centre. I'm very tired already. So I would like to have some time off, probably at the end of the month, if possible, you know, to postpone the.
You would like to see it deferred?
Yeah, I would like to see it postponed, deferred, the parliamentary sitting deferred to the end of the month, probably, you know. Otherwise, I don't think we will see the end of political maneuvering. I know there's another view which says let's go to parliament and see what happens.
Sort it out.
Correct. But I would like to proceed this way. I respect my institutions. At the moment, my institution is the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, who have decided on his investigation and in his judgment that Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin commands the confidence majority of the members of parliament. So I'm comforted with that until it is challenged. Typical lawyer's answer. So I will go with that. So, you know, I have to go with that.
Okay, all right, we're going to take a quick break and come back, continue this conversation right here on Consider This. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. welcome back to Consider This. I'm Melisa, Idris, with me Ibrahim, Sani, Datuk Dr. Rais Hussin from MA Research, as well as Datuk Sri Jahaberdeen Muhammad Yunus, founder of the movement Rakyat Penyelamat Negara, is here on the show. In our final 10 minutes or so on the show, I want to just come back very quickly to what you said and get Rais's comments on that. So the comment earlier about, people are tired. And we saw that Jahaberdeen would prefer that Parliament sitting on the 9th of March be deferred to a later date. What about you, Rais? Are you also on the same boat?
I think political fatigue, mental fatigue, people's fatigue is just on the highest peak now. They just don't want to see these bickerings.
So you would rather it be deferred?
However, the decision to defer can be only done with the suggestion by the Prime Minister to be presented to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, and the Yang di-Pertuan Agong then must agree and then instruct the Speaker to defer. So there are some processes that they have to follow.
And that's fair.
And I do not know whether I am for it or not for it, but because I really respect the independence of institution. Yeah. I always emphasize, Malaysians must start emphasizing this. Do not focus on the individuals. Build institution. Because if you build institution, the institution will take care of itself.
Are Malaysia's institutions strong enough to withstand any political crisis?
Let me tell you one study that was made in Germany recently. They made a study of political stability / instability, correlating it with economic performance of few countries in the region for their investment decisions. When they do it on Japan, their correlation is almost zero. Korea, that means what it means, whatever happens politically, life goes on, business there, economic there, jobs are there, productivity is there, right? Same study was made in Korea, still okay. Same study was made in Thailand, syndicate correlation, little bit correlation. Vietnam, little bit correlation. When they did a study of Malaysia, oh, that thing went to the roof.
Immediately, direct correlation.
Why? You look at the companies in the KLSE, 50–60%, the big ones, are all government-linked companies. So when a decision, a political decision, political stability, instability happens, stability okay lah, but when instability happens, it has direct impact on our economic performance. So from that particular angle, we need to stabilize many things. Two important things that we need always used as a benchmark is our currency. Our currency now is taking a huge hit, and the stock market. So what can be done to do this? So that's why, again, I will repeat this 32 million times, because 32 million Malaysians must listen, and amongst them are politicians. And I hope the politician will have a bigger ear and heart to listen to this. Do not think about yourself. Think about the people. You are given a responsibility, an amanah, whether it's from Allah, Jesus Christ, Lord Shiva, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, whoever. You are going to be answerable. So please, for God's sake, do what is right for the people. And if you can do that, I think we have a better chance. But if you don't do that, you keep on politicking, the one who's going to suffer really are the people. The National Worry Index that is going to be revealed very soon doesn't look to be good, right? And we already had 0.77 earlier. We need to stop this. And chief among which, please start with the anger management of the people.
Can I just ask you about the National Worry Index?
Might come out even earlier than the sitting of the Parliament.
What do we do with that information?
That information is actually put there in public, so people will know this is how they are worrying. The government will know this is how they are worrying. The banks will know this is how they are, the people is worrying. All that is to address the people worrying.
You're hoping it influences some policy making.
Correct.
Okay.
And then we write papers. Okay. If you look, from MA Research, there's a barrage of papers in the media, and we have researchers who write profusely on many issues based on our primary hardcore scientific research. Why? We want to engage with the people. In MA Research, we have two sides. One is research, the other one is outreach.
Okay. This also influences how policies are being drafted and done. Is this, I guess, a good way of addressing a policy where you are supposed to get things done, but at the same time you're looking at what people are worrying, and you might have to address that first before doing the right policies in the first place? Like, for instance,
reforms take time.
Reforms take time. They might not be an immediate concern.
Correct, yes.
And you're not looking into this.
That's why I always talk in the terms of short term, medium term, and long term. When you talk about policy, general policy is the long term. The immediate ones, the worries that they have. When a parent spend all their money on their children, educating them in the university, and when they are back, they are watching consolidation in AWANI and no jobs. And look at the parents looking at their own child. They brought baby, went through school, went to the secondary school, go to the university, and come home, stay, duduk rumah. Writing resumes after resumes. I've interviewed many people, you know, in my companies and so on. I hope I can hire them, all of them, but I'm not capable to hire all of them. I have to.
Yeah, I mean,
but what I'm trying to say is that these numbers are growing. Underemployment and unemployment among the youth and graduates from 510,000, 520,000 before GE14 now is nearing 900,000.
That's almost double.
All right, then I have to ask, you know, in the last 22 months, where was Malaysia's economic agenda heading?
Very good question. You should ask the Ministry of Economic Affairs.
What about as concerned citizens commentating on a show on AWANI? What do you have to say about...
At least we have that on our show.
Unfortunately, this is the problem of the minister. I think we have to get a real guy who understands the economy and work on the economy of the country. You cannot... That's why in some ministerial portfolios, you cannot get a politician in. I think last time we had that guy's name, Wahid, what's Wahid something?
Wahid Omar.
Wahid Omar. Get him.
Technocrat.
Technocrat, capable, people trust him, get him. And then you will, because then you will see the real change. But you have a politician who is busy politicking, not looking really after the affairs, and we end up this. So again, I'm not trying to, you ask me a question, I'm answering it frankly. The problem is, the problem is, it is time for people to have an honest discussion, open discussion, frank discussion, because at the end of the day, people are suffering. And believe me, Melisa and Ibrahim, last quarter was bad in terms of we registered the lowest GDP growth in a decade. This quarter is going to be even worse. Why? Because last time we had the low commodity pricing, this instability, that low FDI, this, that, blah, 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 everything. This quarter, plus coronavirus, tourism is also affected. Yeah? And our stimulus package was just announced. That will take impact like 3 months, 4 months down the line. If ever that stimulus package is continued, number one. Yeah. And number two, if the coronavirus situation changes.
Yeah, well, the Ministry of Health is already assigning coronavirus to be a pandemic instead of an endemic situation.
WHO did that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the national level.
What, so WHO did that, and they say this is going to... It wiped out trillions of dollars from the stock markets all over the world.
Well,
so what are we doing? These are the questions. What, as a Minister of Economy, what have I done? What did I do to protect, to ensure that domestic economic resiliency is preserved in the wake of global situation?
Big questions for the next Finance Minister or Minister of Economic Affairs. Just before we wrap the show, I want to ask Datuk Sri Jahaberdeen, given the movement of Rakyat Penyelamat Negara, What would you say to concerned citizens? What is the role of the citizen now in trying to make their concerns heard? So I mean, all the things that Rais said about, putting politics aside, about putting the economy first, those are the policymakers and the lawmakers that we have. What can concerned citizens do?
Well, you're asking, Melisa, a very long-term question. But what has happened in the past, from GE14, the past 1 week, I hope is an excellent lesson for the Rakyat. Number one, do not, never trust politicians with your life. Therefore, number two, you have to own the country, meaning take ownership of the country. Meaning in whatever way, whatever role you play, you got to play that role. That's number two. Number three is, the Rakyat must work towards empowering and building institutions so that these institutions, the civil service, the PDRM, SPRM, Aegis chambers, all this will be personality free as far as possible. I mean, these are the things that we should work towards as an ordinary Rakyat.
All right, well, wonderful. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on the show with us tonight, spending your Sunday night with us. That's all the time we have on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris, with me, Ibrahim, Sani. Tonight, we will see you for another episode tomorrow night. Wishing you a happy Sunday evening and a productive Monday morning tomorrow. See you then. Bye.